Hey, what is going on YouTube? Today I wanted to answer some questions that you guys have had from my prior videos. I do read all the comments and I have answered most of the questions as best I can. But today I wanted to kind of cover some major questions and major topics that you guys have been asking that I couldn't necessarily express all of my thoughts in writing. So I wanted to cover some of those, but before we get into that, I wanted to first do a proper introduction to this channel. My name is Tommy, and this channel is going to really focus on cars and watches, as you guys have seen. And I may do some other lifestyle things that hopefully you guys will find fun and entertaining. So why make a vlog to begin with? I kind of have broken that down into three main reasons. One, it's a way for me to put my creative energy into something. You know, I really love photography and something that I've been doing for some years now and sharing on Instagram, particularly a lot of watch photos and more recently car photos as well. And I think video and YouTube is the next evolution of that. And second, it's all about, you know, for me, sharing and passing on some knowledge. And what I mean by that is, you know, years ago when I first started getting into watches, I had no clue what the difference was between a quartz and an automatic watch. And I've gone out and done a lot of research and reading online and participated in different forums like Watch You Seek and Time Zone. Also watched a lot of videos on YouTube. And along the way, you know, learned a lot, learned a great deal. And this is a platform for me to kind of give back and share my learning experiences with you guys. So along the way, you know, I really hope that, you know, I will continue to learn and you guys learn a little bit from me as well. And third, it's a way for me to really capture moments in time that I think photographs sometimes can't necessarily capture. And I think it'll be really cool. You know, if 10, 20 years from now, myself, my wife, my son can go back and look at these videos and see, you know, what I was up to, what I was doing, what I was thinking. I think that's really cool and really interesting. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the questions and answers. And we're gonna break this down into a few parts, first starting with the car, then moving on into watches, and I will post links to the prior videos up top here so you guys can reference it back. So first of all, let's talk about the car itself, the M4. Hot Tub Earl had a comment: compared to my daily drive and E92 M3, I feel every setting in the new M4 is turned up a notch in the direction of track day, which is great for the track but takes away from this daily drive quality. For example, ride quality in our bumpy UK roads, for example, much heavier, low-speed steering. And then there's the pipe synthetic exhaust sound in the M4, which is rather sad versus my V8. So anyway, I decided not to buy an M4. Look, at the end of the day, I absolutely love the BMW E92 M3. I think it's a fantastic car. I also think that, you know, owners of any prior generation car for that matter tend to find and often criticize the new model, and I think that's, you know, fairly typical. Nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing, but you know, for me the M4 is really the perfect daily driver. Compared to the old M3, it's a little bit more powerful, weighs a little bit less, handles a little bit better. I just think, you know, has a little bit more technology in it. I just think it's a great car. I personally prefer the M4. Personally, I just like the M4 a little bit better. So on to watches next. So regarding the Black Bay, which I have here, one common topic that came up with the Black Bay is thickness. Abstract Man 23 asked, do you not find it a touch too thick? And many others have made a comment or a criticism about its thickness. So let's do a quick close-up, but Let's do a quick close-up shot of the watch here, but let me put on my macro lens, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I am back with the macro lens on, and let's take a closer look at the Black Bay. So let's kind of get this in focus here. So as you can see here with the Black Bay, and we're going to switch it over to its side here, and you can kind of gauge the thickness. Keep in mind that this is the second generation Black Bay with the in-house movement with the 70-hour power reserve. So it is a little bit thicker than the prior generation. I believe the first generation Tudor Black Bays were roughly about 12.75 millimeters. Don't quote me on that, I'm not absolutely sure, but I do think it was 12.75 from what I can recall. And in this generation, Tudor increased the size due to the in-house movement by about, I think, I read anywhere from 1 to 2 millimeters, which puts it, you know, anywhere from 13.75 to 14.75 millimeters in height, which is pretty thick for a 41 millimeter watch. And on the other side, as you can see, on the crown side with the rose crown there, which is pretty cool. But again, as in my video, I made a comment that it kind of clashes with the shield logo on the dial. So I wish Tudor made it all uniform. If they, you know, put a shield logo on the dial, probably should have put a shield logo on the crown too. Although I really loved the rose logo on the crown, and I would have probably preferred they kept the rose logo on the dial as well. But nonetheless, I think the increase in size really comes from, like I said, the in-house movement. And if you look at the case back, and unfortunately I don't have the first generation Black Bay to compare it against, but having owned one, I can say that the case back on the prior generation was completely flat, completely flush with the back of the case here. And as you can see here, in the new generation with the in-house movement, it kind of sticks out a little bit, and hopefully you guys can see that. And I think that is what gives it really its extra thickness. I think that all in all, you know, it is to me a minor criticism of the watch. I think given its price point and its high value proposition, the House of Rolex, you know, they have to make cuts somewhere. And I wouldn't call them necessarily cuts, but, you know, design decisions. And certainly, you know, they couldn't keep a watch like this at its price point super thin, because then you'll probably be looking at a Submariner and having a watch that would then compete directly with a sub. And certainly, you know, this is a great value proposition, like I said, and I think that, you know, in order to keep, you know, costs down, certain design decisions have had to be made. So I think all in all, nevertheless, you know, a minor criticism of the watch for me is personally is not an issue. The thickness is not a put off. I've had bang the watch, you know, a couple of times against door jams, against corners of tables. I do have scratches already on the side of the case, but again, for me, you know, not a huge deal. Okay, so on to the next topic regarding the Big Pilot. And one of the common questions is similar to the Black Bay regarding fit and size. Brasco Frain asks, how do you feel about the fit of that IWC on your wrist? It looks massive on you. So I happen to have the Big Pilot on me right now, which is an awesome watch. I absolutely love this watch, one of my favorites in my collection. And as you can see here, you know, I don't think it's too massive on my wrist. I do have roughly a 6.75 inch wrist, and you know, if you look at it from the profile, you know, for me, when I look at the fit of a watch, as long as the lugs aren't hanging over the size of my wrist, I think it fits fine. And certainly that is not the case of the Big Pilot here. The Big Pilot, you know, they obviously call it big for a reason. It is a 46, I believe a 46.2 millimeter watch, and it is massive, but I think it's not overly massive, and I think it fits my wrist fairly well. Diego asks, what do you think the 5002 will maintain its value better than the 5004 or 5009 model? This here is the 5009-12, which is the latest release from SIHH 2016 last year. I do think that if I had to do it all over again, while as much as I love this watch, I think the 5002 is really the, you know, in my mind, the ultimate Big Pilot. The 5002 was also the very first generation of the Big Pilot, and I think, you know, usually the first generation of a watch will generally speaking will maintain its value better than its successors. And if you look at the used market right now, the 5002 has maintained its value fairly well, and I think, you know, over the course of time, I think that you'll continue to see that happen. I think that the 5009-12 model, which is this one, will also maintain its value fairly nicely in the used market, but only time will tell. So we'll have to take a look back, you know, 5 to 10 years from now to see where values are at. But I think the, you know, again, the 5002 slow beat will be in very much still high demand like it is today. Finally, another major topic that came up is regarding the Speedmaster. So Rabbit68 asks, is the Speedmaster really from 1974? I noticed it didn't have the Omega Speedmaster Professional written on the face. I have a 1972 Speedy and mine has Professional, but yours looks like a pre-moon. And alongside with that, Taylor Gang made a comment. My only criticism, like others have said, is that both Speedies are Frankenwatches. So breaking that down into, you know, couple of you know, into the two comments or questions there. Yes, in fact, the vintage Speedmaster that I have is from 1974. I did verify the serial numbers before I purchased it with Omega, who confirmed that it is or was originally manufactured in 1974. The case back on the inside of the case back does also have you know, the 1974 manufacturing year on it. So long story short, with that particular watch, you know, it is a modified watch. It is customized, and you know, I really think that, you know, customization and modification is the spice of life. You know, the same way that, you know, I customized my car, the same way I customized the strap on my Big Pilot for, you know, an original Buffalo IWC strap. Same way I customized the dial on the hands on both Speedmasters, although, you know, admittedly it's a little bit more extreme, and admittedly I do know that oftentimes a little bit frowned upon in the industry. But for me, you know, again, you know, I wanted to have something a little bit different regarding the 1974 model. You know, I would have loved to kept everything original. Unfortunately, when a year after I bought it, it needed service, I took it in, and I found out the chrono second hand was bent down, and it was actually, if the chronograph was activated, it would hit the minute or the hour hand and cause it to stop. And because of the age of the watch and the age of the hands, didn't feel that it was something that they were willing to even touch or even try to, you know, bend back or try to fix. So they decided to replace it with a new hand. And I didn't want, you know, a mixture between, you know, old vintage hands and one new hand. So I decided to just swap out everything for new. The dial is from the Speedmaster 57 re-edition. So that is where the dial came from, with the applied metal logo, which I absolutely love. All the parts, hands and dial are original Omega parts. So I don't necessarily, you know, think of it as a Frankenwatch. And then with the other Speedmaster, that is a more recent Speedmaster, a more modern Speedmaster, that I decided to change up the dial and the hands for the Panda dial from a Japanese special edition that they had, and changed up the hands for the broad arrow hands. So I think, you know, I just wanted to have a different look, something that was different than my other Speedmaster, and I think with the Panda dial, that certainly achieves that. And again, just like with the 1974 Speedmaster, with the Panda Speedmaster, dial and hands are all original OEM Omega parts. So in regards to, you know, the claim that it's Frankenwatches, look, I mean, you know, yeah, technically I guess they are Frankenwatches, because they are modified. They're not, you know, in its original state as if you were to buy them from a dealer. Totally get that. But for me, you know, a Frankenwatch is really, you know, when you take something and you know, modify it with non-original parts, non-OEM parts, not, you know, parts from a third-party manufacturer, or parts from a or like replica parts. Certainly with these watches, that is not the case here. So, you know, in my personal opinion, you know, no, they are not Frankenwatches. They are customized, modified watches, customized to my liking, just like I customize my M4. So, you know, I think that, again, you know, variety is the spice of life, and I think that, you know, as owners of these things, we should have a little bit of fun with them, and sometimes, you know, customizing them is part of the fun. All right, and with that, we're gonna wrap up this vlog, and hopefully you guys liked it, and if you guys did, give me a thumbs up. And we will see you in the next one.